Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Alright guys, I'm back again for video number 2, and it is September 1st, Tuesday, and it's 11:53 p.m. Eastern Time, so it'll soon be September 2nd. But I did want to, since all the mishaps with my video last night, I did want to get 2 videos done tonight. So here is number 2. Let's just get into the news. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm going to pick up right from where I left off, and I guess we're just gonna, there's some stuff here I may skip, but let's just take it as it comes. All right, and here we go. All right, now, Amy Klobuchar absurdly implies that that President Joe Biden is going to stop this violence to make people safe again. Really? Yeah, that's what she believes, apparently. Watch as Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar implies that President Joe Biden would end the current cycle of violence in American cities and make people safe again. Oh, how's he going to do that, I wonder? All right, well, let's listen. I'll make this bigger.
And they're simply following science, and that's the right thing to do.
As you know, Senator, I also cover the White House in my day job for NBC News, and I was talking to not just Trump campaign officials, but frankly, those inside the Biden campaign as well, and both acknowledge that this race does appear to be tightening at this point. You have 2 polls out over the weekend, online polls, we should note, Morning Consult, Yahoo News, YouGov, showing that the former vice president is in the lead. It's a 6-point lead. The Morning Consult one finds that the president has gained ground specifically with white and suburban voters. Does this suggest to you, when you look at this, that perhaps some of the president's rhetoric may be working? Do you think it's too early to tell? How do you read that?
First of all, we should note that Joe Biden is in the lead. He is in the lead in battleground states. And given everything the president has thrown out there, I think it shows the strength of the Joe Biden and Kamala Harris team. Secondly, we never thought this was going to be easy, Hallie. I know how close my state was back in 2016. We know how hard this is going to be, and it's more than anything else a siren call for people to get out and vote and to organize and to put up lawn signs and to show their support for sanity in this country, to stop this chaos, to stop this violence, to make people safe again. And I think that you are going to see more and more of that going on as this campaign takes off across the country. So I'm excited. I love Joe Biden's speech, and I'm glad he's ahead, but I know it's going to be a long road. And I am so excited to help him in the Midwest, because in the end, the hardworking people of the Midwest, they want a government that works for them. This government is not working for them.
Before I let you go, Senator, I have to ask you about...
Yeah, so you can see how this narrative has been turned on its head. Everybody knows that the Democrats have supported this violence because the violence is happening in Democrat cities. There's no Republican cities on that list. And Donald Trump has offered several times to send in the National Guard. It's always been no, we can handle it. We don't want your help. And now the Democrats are realizing, you know what, people are a little upset about this rioting and burning down their cities and their neighborhoods and burning out businesses. Maybe we better back off a bit and let's just blame it on Trump. Yeah, we'll just blame it on Trump and say that, oh, if you want to be safe, you've got to vote for Biden. And of course, she reiterates that Biden is ahead, and you know why they're doing that. He's not ahead. There's not a chance he's ahead. And Trump is a rock star next to Biden. Biden is a doddering old man who can't remember what he says from one minute to the next, and is liable. Anything is liable to come out of his mouth. And, they want us to believe that Biden is ahead because they have every intention of stealing this election. Now, I just hope and pray that the election is safe and that that won't happen. But now the narrative is as well that they're going to, Trump will be declared the winner, and then over the next few days when all the mail-in votes come in, then they'll say, no, it's Joe Biden. So I don't know, but they've got a lot of tricks up their sleeve. And I would never have believed that the Democrats were this bad. Now, I've never agreed with their policies, but I never really believed they were this bad. But this is a whole new breed of Democrat out there, and something we've not seen before. At least I haven't. And maybe it's just that I wasn't paying attention. I don't know. But this whole thing has really shocked me. And it kind of disheartened me as well, because I realized that, you know, these people actually believe this, and they have no qualms about doing whatever it takes to maintain power. It's just, I don't know, it's been a real eye-opener for me. I thought I was awake, and in many ways I was, but I did not realize it was as bad as it is, and I did not realize this creeping socialism until it's almost too late. Now, it's not too late. I'm just saying it's almost too late. All right, so that is her. Let's go on now, because we've got more to get to now. And I'm sure you've seen this by now, that the pandemic, this by News Wars, pandemic over, CDC adjusts numbers to 10,000 COVID deaths Monday live. So now they have revised this number down, and what they're saying now is that they're only, well, I think it's actually been adjusted down to 9,000 now. They're saying 10,000. I read 9,000, but I'm not sure which number is correct. But the CDC is now saying that only 9 or 10,000 people actually died of just COVID. All the others had comorbidities that could have been responsible for their deaths, because, you know, if somebody died and they had COVID, but they died of a heart attack or something, they would say they died of COVID. Well, now those numbers have been adjusted, and far fewer have died. I mean, 9 to 10,000. And I know what you're thinking. You're saying, you know, well, that's still a lot of people. Yes, it is. But is it worth shutting down the entire economy over? Is it worth people losing their livelihoods and their businesses over? Because, you know, I wonder how many people have commit suicide because of this, and the loneliness and everything that's associated with this lockdown. And the other thing is, too, far more people than that die of the flu each year. So that's not a huge number, considering that there are 360 million people in the United States, or close to it. So 10,000, that's not a lot. And to ruin an economy, to shut down a country, to inconvenience people, many have lost their businesses, their livelihoods. Many have been laid off from jobs. Was it worth it? No. And no one can ever convince me that it was. All right. So, federal agency now says 94% of people who died had serious pre-existing morbidity or comorbidity issues, and 90% plus of tests are false positives. Tune in to hear this bombshell news. Okay, well, there you go on that. And let's move on now. You've probably already heard that anyway. So let's look at this. Now, CNN editor-at-large puts Trump derangement syndrome on full display by slamming Trump's use of the word riot. Yeah, like anybody can look at what's going on and not call it a riot. That's exactly what it is. And interesting how they had somebody's standing in front of a burning building behind them, and they said, fiery protests, mostly peaceful. Wow. Yeah. So let's look at this. These might be the most blatant lies since Baghdad Bob denied American troops were rolling into the capital of Iraq in 2003. The alleged news network known as CNN has been spewing propaganda as the broadcast mouthpiece of the resistance to President Donald Trump since before Trump even took office. But a Twitter post on Sunday from Chris Cillizza, the network's editor-at-large, took liberal lies to a whole new level. Yeah. Saliza attacked Trump for using the word riots to describe massive outbreaks in looting, arson, and murder that have been plaguing American cities for the past 4 months. When sane people see upheavals like that on their city street or on their television screens, they have no problem using the word riots. But for Saliza and his ludicrously dishonest network, Trump's utterly accurate description is a sign of desperation to him. So here we have this, and Chris Saliza says Trump's efforts to label what is happening in major cities as riots speaks at least somewhat to his desperation, politically speaking, at the moment. Well, what do you call it when people burn down people's businesses, throw bricks, break windows, harm people, kill people? What do you call that? I call that a riot, and worse. So, it says Trump's effort to label what is happening in major cities as riots speaks at least somewhat to his desperation, politically speaking, at the moment, Saliza wrote. Not even the commenters on Saliza's own Twitter account were buying that. If there's desperation coming from anywhere politically these days, it's that the Democratic Party and its presidential candidate seem to have realized that Americans don't appreciate criminals cutting a swath of destruction through their communities under the guise of social justice. The fact that Saliza's tweet was illustrated by a raging inferno didn't help his argument any either. Yeah, like look at the picture he chooses to use, and then he's saying, that Trump's using the word riots because he's desperate. Dude, you showed a building on fire. That these peaceful protesters broke the windows and threw in incendiary devices. Yeah, but that's not a riot. No, that's peaceful protesting. And this from the Bradford file, he says, what exactly does CNN call mobs burning buildings, assaulting police, looting businesses, and killing people for their political views? Jeffrey Miller said CNN's effort to label what it produces as news speaks at least somewhat to its desperation as an increasingly partisan, irrelevant, and ridiculous propaganda machine. Well said, Jeffrey Miller. Well said. And Dr. Chris Newton said it's really sad when what CNN has become. From the UK, I used to respect it. It was my go-to place for international news. Definitely not anymore. Not only has it become a partisan joke, it's now seemingly denying reality and playing down violence. Dangerous. More Than a Few compared Saliza's post to the infamous CNN tweet from last week that showed network reporter Omar, I spit on myself. That's nasty. I don't know why, but I guess it's the first day with the new lips. Who knows? But anyway, post to the infamous CNN tweet from last week that showed network reporter Omar Jimenez broadcasting from in front of a building fully engulfed in flames with a chyron describing fiery but mostly peaceful protests. Yeah. And Caleb Hubb says, fiery but mostly peaceful protests. And of course, Wisconsin man shot by police remains in ICU. He's got a burning building behind him, but he says, yeah, mostly peaceful. And naturally, the mockery rained down in gallows humor. Now this is funny. This by G. Violent but mostly peaceful family. And of course, that is the Manson family. Yeah, right. I like gallows humor. I don't know why. It's probably not a good thing, but I do. Now, this is FM 29 says FDR's effort to label what happened in Pearl Harbor as a surprise attack by the Japanese speaks at least somewhat to his desperation, politically speaking, at the moment. People had fun with this. Saliza's desperation line was a quote from his newsletter, The Point, which is linked in the tweet. The irony, though, is the segment of the newsletter Saliza was quoting trying to make its case by citing an opinion piece by CNN analyst Harry Enton, which was arguably making exactly the opposite point. The headline on Enton's piece, Why Democrats Are Worried About Kenosha. Enton did his best to paint the situation in the best light for Democrats, of course. He does work for CNN, but there's no escaping the conclusion in his piece that an endless stream of violence in the name of causes that are associated with the Democrat Party Primarily, the Black Lives Matter movement isn't helping Democrats win the hearts and minds of the American public. Every person of goodwill was appalled by the death of George Floyd in the custody of Minneapolis police in May, but the rampant destruction in cities across the country has been just as appalling, if not more so, for the fact that it's so widespread. It would be easy to shrug this kind of journalistic malpractice off as just CNN being CNN. This is a network with such little regard for the profession of journalism, after all, that it employs the swaggering, insolent Jim Acosta as its White House correspondent. Yeah, that says everything, doesn't it? But there's more here, and it speaks to the trust of the American people that's been betrayed by the mainstream media for most of the 21st century. The endless lying attacks on President George W. Bush gave way to the dishonest deification of Barack Obama and to the even more dishonest demonization of Donald Trump. This response to Salisa's tweet sums it up perfectly. And this person says, come on, man. If they'll lie about something this obvious, imagine what they've lied to you about over these last 3 to 4 years. Yes, imagine indeed what they've lied to us about, probably just about everything. During the April 2003 invasion of Iraq, when then Iraqi Minister of Information Mohammed Saeed al-Sahaf, to be known to American history as Baghdad Bob, told reporters there were no American tanks in Baghdad when cameras showed U.S. soldiers moving through the Iraqi capital basically at will. Americans and the world knew they were being lied to, almost laughably. For most of what CNN has reported through the Trump years and the Obama years and the Bush years and the Clinton years for that matter, the lies haven't generally been as obviously blatant, but they've been lies nonetheless, and there's nothing laughable about them. With the Russia collusion hoax in ruins and the scam impeachment effort an almost forgotten part of history, CNN and the rest of the mainstream media are left with the coronavirus pandemic and the current rash of riots in the name of racial justice to attack Trump as the days wind down to November. The reporting on the coronavirus has been viciously anti-Trump, naturally trying to hold the president to blame for a disease that was let loose on the world by the Chinese Communist Party and its communist instinct toward deceit in the name of self-protection. But Salisa's tweet pretending Trump accurately called riots is a sign of desperation, speaks volumes about CNN's willingness to lie to the American people. Baghdad Bob was doing the same thing while he was looking at an inevitable defeat. Come November, CNN and its Democratic patrons deserve exactly the same thing. Well written, and I totally agree. All right, now let's see what else. Yes, this is important to get to as well. Mass homelessness, housing crisis looms as eviction protections expire. Now, this is a crisis in the making, let me tell you. A national housing crisis could hit the U.S. as early as late August, which is now, and as rent payments resume for many residents across the country. According to a think tank called the Aspen Institute, up to 40 million people are at risk of eviction in the coming months as residents struggle to make rent amid the economic fallout caused by the Wuhan coronavirus pandemic. In particular, financial hardship caused by COVID-19, which includes job and wage losses and the loss of federal and state protections at the height of the pandemic, are key drivers for the looming crisis. Without intervention, the housing crisis will result in significant harm to renters and property owners, the authors wrote in their report. Renters living in urbanized areas are among those facing the possibility of eviction over non-payment of rent. In Clark County, Nevada, where the city of Las Vegas is located, about 10% of the population is at risk of eviction starting next month, according to a report by Las Vegas research group Ginn Center and the COVID-19 Eviction Defense Project in Denver. Government funds have helped many renters pay rent and stay afloat during the pandemic, and a new state law lets courts delay eviction proceedings proceedings up to 30 days to allow mediation between tenants and landlords. Despite these protections, renters in Las Vegas and other cities in the country are more likely to be walloped by the looming eviction crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic has kept revelers away from Las Vegas and the rest of southern Nevada, a region known for gambling, partying, and networking en masse, often in close quarters. According to Nancy Brune, executive director of the Ginn Center, nearly half of all households in Clark County are renters, and over a third of them are unemployed. Not good. Bradford Cook Jr., an electronics technician at MGM Grand, is among the 249,700 renters struggling to pay rent in the county. 5 months after getting furloughed by the pandemic, his manager emailed him to say that there were no plans to recall him to work. Cook, a Navy veteran, told the Las Vegas Review-Journal that he received around $3,000 a month in state and federal unemployment benefits at the height of the pandemic. Currently, he said it's down to around $1,300 a month. He already informed his property manager that he will probably move out soon, saying that it's better to look for a place now than get slapped with an eviction notice later. Everything about our lives is pretty much in the air right now, Cook added. A similar situation is unfurling in New York City, with 14,500 renters set to be evicted once the city's eviction ban expires in October. According to data from the trade group Community Housing Improvement Program, around a quarter of the city's 5.4 million tenants failed to make rent from April through June, which puts them at risk of eviction. In addition, more renters are expected to be unable to pay rent by September, as pandemic unemployment benefits have ended this month. This means that renters like Marta Cortez, a restaurant manager who lost her job during the pandemic, will have to burn through what little savings she has left to keep her family afloat. Right now, she's looking into the possibility of moving her family into a homeless shelter when she is ultimately evicted. I'm struggling to stay strong right now. The stress is killing me, she added. Aside from losing her job, she's also had to miss her father's funeral in California, as well as pay for her son's emergency surgery, all while relying on unemployment benefits to keep her afloat. People have to understand we're all dealing with a lot right now. The U.S. currently has a COVID-19 caseload of over 5.5 million. Well, no, it doesn't. Because the CDC has now admitted and revised that number much lower. But anyway, so there you have it. The fall is shaping up to be a perfect storm and not a good storm, because you've got that happening, you've got the elections, and we can just about guarantee that violence is going to increase up to the elections and possibly after the elections, depending. Because if Biden gets in, I think every Trump supporter is going to know that he cheated his way in there, and it's ludicrous that he would even, it would be ludicrous for him to even, be in there as president, because he's not capable. And the thing is, really, we're looking at Kamala becoming president if Joe Biden gets in there. But anyway, if he gets in, the Trump's people are going to be, myself included, extremely irate. If Trump gets in, you know what's going to happen on the other side. They're going to want to burn it down. But I am just hoping and praying that Trump gets in and he is able to get a hold of things quickly once he, is reelected. And I believe that, bar cheating, he will. But yeah, it's not going to be an easy fall for us, I don't think. I would like to stay positive and say, oh, it's all great, it's all wonderful, but you know what? It's not. And even though I do believe in President Trump, I think he's doing a fantastic job. What he has had to go through is unbelievable. And it has shown me the desperation on the left, and that they are willing to do whatever it takes, including the ultimate. And we need to pray for the protection of our president. All right, now let's look at this. All right. 57 countries see surge in new cases as global count passes 25 million, with Portugal likely to return to UK quarantine list. Now, what they're saying, now this is, perhaps they're talking about the new cases here, but there is a new strain that has been, well, I shouldn't say it's been released, because it could be just a mutation of what we already have. But there is something new, and apparently it is a lot more contagious, because, you know, the old wasn't working, so I guess they needed something new. And I don't know, I don't think that this is that article, so I may have to skip this, because yeah, this isn't it. So sorry, thought it was, but it isn't. So let's just go on, because I think I do have something about that new virus, but if not, I will find it and bring it to you at a later time. So let's take a look at this. Yeah, this is, oh, it's interesting. Maybe not, but sort of. Alrighty, here we go. Sleepy Joe took a nap during live stream with Hillary. Now, when I was reading this, I was thinking, no, surely he didn't. Yes, he did. The Biden campaign strategy is to hide Joe in his basement so people remember the person he used to be and don't see the broken down man he is. Unfortunately for them, Joe is so far gone that he manages daily gaffes, flubs, softball interviews, and has difficulty reading off a teleprompter. Things got a little worse for the guy that insists he's up to the job when Joe actually fell asleep during a virtual town hall with Hillary Clinton. Plan B for his campaign is to simply play old clips of Biden and hope that nobody notices. The live stream of the virtual town hall with Hillary got off to a roaring start. Yeah, this is the start of it, and then it went downhill from here. Yeah, so let's, oh gosh.
Hello, everyone.
It was running for all that time, and they're just staring, and Hillary's like, And then Joe Biden, he looks over, and then he all of a sudden, hello, everyone. I mean, I'm sorry. The first time I saw this, I laughed so hard. I mean, I laughed a hearty laugh. Unbelievable. But anyway, but that's what happened. And then, boy, he's... They're just sitting there, and oh, look at the color that Hillary's wearing. It's like that, the Tiffany blue. That has a lot of significance, and I don't think that's Hillary because it doesn't look like her. Now, I'm not into all the cloning stuff. Don't get me off on that. But I do believe they use doubles. I mean, that's pretty much a given. Anyway, let's continue. That was a lively discussion about all the great ideas Democrats have. Eventually, Joe noticed the camera was on and introduced Hillary as the woman who should be president right now. Well, duh, if she was president right now, then you wouldn't be running. Well, he wouldn't. Hillary Clinton tells Joe Biden during virtual town hall, I am thrilled to be part of your campaign to not only endorse you, but to help highlight a lot of the issues that are at stake in this presidential election. So let's listen to this. Yeah.
We're going to dig into all these issues and more in today's discussion, and I'm really thrilled to have my friend, the former senator and former Secretary of State, and the woman who should be President of the United States right now, Hillary Clinton. Welcome, Hillary. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Joe. It's a real pleasure to be here with you and to be part of this very important discussion. And I am thrilled to be part of your campaign to not only endorse you, but to help highlight a lot of the issues that are at stake in this presidential election.
Oh, well, that's where he starts to sleep. But there's more. Just wait, there's more. All right, I'm not sure if Joe realizes this. Actually, I know he doesn't, but if Hillary was president right now, he wouldn't be running. What he's actually saying with this stupid introduction is, I shouldn't be running for president right now. I couldn't agree more. And to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he shouldn't be running for president, Joe took a nap while Hillary was cackling. Yes, he did. Yeah, so let's listen to this.
By women in our country has been classified as essential. So this is an issue that affects all of us, young and old.
I know, he's probably said, oh, I wasn't sleeping, I was just checking out the inside of my eyelids, that's all I was doing. I wasn't sleeping, no. Doesn't matter if I was going, I wasn't sleeping. This is the man, he'd be sleeping in the Oval Office. I mean, bring him a blankie and some hot cocoa and just put him to bed. Give him a nap. I mean, really, he's not up to any state business, so what's he gonna do? Drink hot cocoa and have a nap with a fuzzy blanket. They're the best. Fuzzy blankets. I love fuzzy blankets. Anyway, Joe must have been really tired to fall asleep while Hillary was talking. She has a very abrasive texture to her voice that could be used to torture terror suspects, and yet Joe was able to achieve a deep sleep with that rusty buzzsaw going off. It seems weird that none of Joe's handlers poked him with a stick to wake his ass up. I suspect the new rule in the Biden campaign is that whenever Joe does a Zoom call, somebody has to be in the room with a cattle prod. Making this even funnier, Donald Trump Jr. was on Fox News around the same time questioning Biden's health and ability to do the job. Joe Biden refuses to campaign. He's staying in his basement, said Trump Jr. Is it that he can't do it, or is it just that he's not physically able? Now wait for it. Is this guy going to wake up at 3 a.m. to take a phone call? Is this guy going to be capable of doing that? And if we're not sure, should someone other than me be asking this question? Trump Jr. asked. I think everybody needs to be asking that question. Yeah. Joe Biden can't even stay awake in the middle of the afternoon when he's on live stream. Clearly, the Biden campaign can no longer even put him in controlled events from his basement, since all of his interviews are staged anyway with pre-approved questions. They could have just had a liberal media outlet ask something and then put up a clip of Joe from the past in which he appears to answer it. Either that or do the thing where they superimpose someone else's lips over a still photo of Biden to make it look like he's talking. Yeah. Can you imagine? Yeah, that was the town hall. Yeah, that long pause at the beginning, and then he says, well, hello, and then he falls asleep during Hillary talking. Well, I guess the man needs a nap. What can I say? All right, now, in comparison with that, let's look at how Donald Trump acts when there's a hot mic on that he's not aware of. Let's just see how he behaves. Is he going to be the hinder parts that some people think he is? Or let's just take a look and see, shall we? I think we should. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. That's the ending. There we go. Trump goes viral for hot mic moment with first responders when he thinks all the cameras are off.
Thank you very much. This is great. Yeah, let me have a pen. Could I have a pen? Give me a pen. Here, come on over here. Looks like a good man. What's his name? Come here. Come here, pal. Let's get over here. I want a little power. We gotta just. I want them over here. These are the guys. Here, sell this tonight on eBay. You get 10,000. Thank you for everybody.
Put your mask on.
Who's gonna get this one? Sell it tonight on eBay, 10,000. Thank you. Thank you, fellas. We okay? Let's go, Steve. Delivered me? Oh, that's the sheriff's right there. Which is the sheriff? The sheriff right over here. This one right over here, yeah. Come on over. So we're okay? Everything? Sure. People look good. Give me a piece of paper. Give me a sheriff. Give a tag? Yeah. Sheriff. Give me a piece of paper. Yeah, yeah. Hi, how are you? So you'll be okay, right? Won't be pleasant.
I just think this is very interesting to see him when he thinks there's no cameras on him.
No, but if I put your name down, it loses a lot of value. So just sell it tonight on eBay. Give me another one, Joe. Thank you. We'll take good care. We're going to work with the guys.
He is the people's president.
Fast.
He's the same when the cameras aren't rolling as when they are.
There's a pen. All right, Karen, I'll give you a king cake for that. Great job. Great job. That's President, I graduated from law school.
That's the smartest guy in our class.
Is that right? Really? Yeah. Oh, I thought he was smart. No. Thank you, fellas. I changed it. Oh, you changed? Hey, we need to. We'll get you. He's got a way.
He is so personable, and he takes time to thank everybody. You know, he doesn't have to do that. So, yeah. So I just thought I'd play that for you guys, and it's a bit long, but I think it's well worth it because, you know, you can see how he behaves when he thinks nobody's listening, nobody's watching, and he's just one of the guys. And you could tell these men respect him and like him. And I just think that's awesome to see because I've always heard that he is a very personable person, that he always takes time to greet people, doesn't make people feel like they are beneath him. He's just, you know, one of the guys, I guess. So I just think that this is wonderful. It made me feel even more respect than I already have for him, which is sizable. So I thought you would enjoy seeing that if you haven't already. Now, let's go back. Let me see how long we've been going here. We still have some time. Now, I'm not going to go as long in this video as I did in the last one, but there are some things that I do want to cover, and let's see what they are. Yeah, this is interesting as well. I think you'll find this very interesting. Boy, my computer's getting hot here. Hang on 1 second. I'm going to put this, give it a little bit of air under there. It overheats. Okay, so Portland rioters smash into mayor's condo building, try to set it ablaze. Yeah, how about that? Hang on here. All right, as calls for Vichy Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler to resign increase, the rioters have once again taken to causing a scene out front of his condo in the ritzy Pearl District. This time they smashed out the windows and tried to set the place on fire. Evidently, this was the mayor's birthday, and this was the party Antifa threw for him. Yeah. So it says here, police declare unlawful assembly. Let's take a look. Yeah, so I guess, you know, Ted Wheeler, I mean, he seems to be okay with all the violence, but I wonder how he feels now that it's at his front door and when they try to burn down his building. Gee, I wonder how he feels about that. And Sergei Olmos says, a protester threw a threw a firework inside the lobby, and says Ted Wheeler is a white supremacist. Well, he supports them, but they most certainly don't support him. An apartment building full of people, and they're not above burning it down. Think about that. You know, if there was a fire, if it set a huge fire that spread to the upper floors, how many people would be affected? They'd be burned out of their homes, but that would be the very least of their problems, because some of them would most likely die. Unbelievable. Anyway, this is Andy No, and he says, using bats, Antifa black bloc riders are smashing up property around Ted Wheeler's Portland condo. There have been no police at all tonight per Wheeler's directive of de-escalation. Gee, how is that de-escalation going, Ted Wheeler? I don't think it's going very well. I don't want to play that because it's got music in it and I'll get a copyright strike. But yeah, how does that de-escalation look like it's coming along? I wouldn't say too good, seeing as they tried to burn down his apartment building. So there you go. Turns out the fire was set in doctor's office on the first floor of the building, which happens to be minority owned. Well, they don't care. Antifa vandalizing and looting minority owned businesses in Portland. And there they are. This is a doctor's office. So, and this is Portland as well. Okay, once you see that, you just can't unsee it. I don't know, but I think I need bleach for my eyes now. Okay, and come down here, Special Agent Viddy. This is more footage. You're next, Teddy, that's what that says. Well, that doesn't really show us much of anything, except you're next, Teddy. ACAB. I don't know what that means, but and Andy No says Antifa riders set off fireworks at Ted Wheeler's Northwest Portland condo. They've also started a large fire on the streets. So let's look at this. Do these people look like they're playing around? Those fireworks could ignite anything. I mean, if there's something on the balcony or anything that could ignite. And that is exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to disturb the peace, and they're trying to light fires. And personally, if I lived there, I'd be terrified, because you wouldn't want to come down. And see, that's the thing. If they had set that building on fire, what would they do to the people that were fleeing? Well, goodness only knows. The terrorists eventually settled on lighting another picnic table on fire in the street, because lighting enough picnic tables on fire will somehow put an end to police brutality. Yeah, right. A bonfire is burning on the intersection. The crowd is yelling, F Ted Wheeler. And I'm not going to play that. I think you can see that they have this picnic table on the ground that's burning. And yeah. Since it's at the mayor's house, someone ordered the police to rush in and put an end to the party. One riot cop comes storming in, tackles a non-gender specified particular individual to the ground, and starts wailing away after the rioter flips the cop's helmet off his head. Yeah, but you know, the thing is, Ted Wheeler was the one that told the cops to stand down, right? But when it's his house, when it's his apartment, when they're right there at his door, oh, who does he call? Yeah, right. So,
subject due to arrest, citation from control agents, including benevolent attitude, tear gas, and/or impact weapons. Leave the area immediately.
Do these people look like they're peacefully protesting? Because I'm thinking, no. All right, so, and let's come down here. Police officer runs ahead of his line, tackles a protester, and starts punching them on the ground. Portland police upgrade it to a riot. Police bull rush and push protesters to the ground. Well, this was the 95th consecutive night of protests in Portland. Well, good luck, Ted Wheeler. You know, you're trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, saying, you know, oh, they're peacefully protesting. Meanwhile, they're burning the city to the ground. But when it's outside of his house, outside of his front door, it's completely different, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Well, that is a train going by, and it's loud for some reason. Not sure why, but it is. All right. Now, I am going to, oh gosh, I've got so much more left to but I'm going to end it with, let me see how long we've been going here. We're going 45 minutes, so I'm going to end with a story that's going to be the most bizarre thing you've heard for a long time. Or maybe not. Maybe you're places that I'm not, and find, if you find things that are more bizarre than this, then I don't know where you're looking at your news, but I'm going to play this, but I'm going to add a warning, okay? Because I read this actually last night in one of the videos that didn't have audio, and I read it and I didn't realize near the bottom how graphic it really was. So I'm warning you in advance that there is a graphic part in this concerning an animal. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, but I just want to offer that to you, but I will warn you when the part is coming up so that if you want to fast forward a bit, you can. All right, it doesn't show anything. I'm going to read it. All right, now. Yeah, this will make the whole video worthwhile. Maybe, maybe not. Let's say it will. Let's be positive. All right, today in Fort Smith, this is Western Arkansas and Eastern Oklahoma local news leader. Yet another story emerges about something lurking in the woods. Graphic details. Now, let me just preface this by saying I do believe in Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I do believe in it because we have been hearing stories about that in Canadian woods. Also, people have spotted it around the world. It's a worldwide phenomenon. So yes, I do believe it exists, and yes, I do believe it's possible that something could. I mean, there are vast woods and forests in North America, so they could hide deep in forests and nobody would ever know. I know there's lots of arguments like, well, but nobody's ever found a skeleton of one and whatever. But I do believe they exist because I've heard too many stories, and I just don't believe they're all made up. And this one is the most convincing one I've ever heard. So with that said, let's go forward. Okay, editor's note. When we ran our first Bigfoot story last week, we publicly stated that today in Fort Smith was not going to become a website about cryptozoology and things that go bump in the night. However, there seems to be a lot of interest and sightings in the area, and this latest story, however fantastic, comes from a local couple who are totally sincere about their experience. We proffer no opinion as to the existence of Bigfoot or the validity of this encounter, but we can say this. Something happened to this couple in the Ozark National Forest, and they have nothing to gain by sharing their story. Fort Smith native Ellen described a compelling and frightening Bigfoot encounter in the Ozark National Forest near Campbell Cemetery on Tuesday night. Ellen and her husband Robert hiked to a secluded area to camp where the nearest campers were miles away. According to Ellen, she and Robert were alarmed when they heard a long human yet animal-like growl that penetrated the air from the trees behind their tent. The sound was very close to us, and it sounded like something had found its dinner, said Ellen. A few minutes later, the growl grew closer. all the time coming from the tree line behind the campsite. Our dogs whimpered and cowered down by the tent. It was frightening. All we could do is take the dogs and get inside of the tent. We didn't head out to camp. So we could find Bigfoot, Ellen said. I had never even believed in Bigfoot. So she's saying they weren't out there to just, to find Bigfoot. She didn't even believe in it. Robert said the growls surrounded the tent and continued for the next hour, all coming from the tree line behind their campsite. We decided to mimic the growls, and that's when the creatures turned aggressive. Creatures turned aggressive. This creature began throwing large rocks and small trees near the frightened camper's tent. We decided to let our dogs loose. Okay, so the part that is distressing is coming up. Okay, so if you want to fast forward, now is the time. Otherwise, don't say I didn't warn you. So the creature began throwing large rocks and small trees near the frightened camper's tent. We decided to let our dogs loose in hopes they would chase away whatever was out in those trees, Robert explained. It was the biggest mistake of our lives, Ellen sobbed. Within minutes of the dogs leaving the tent and running toward the tree line, the dogs each let out a horrendous sound. It was the worst sound we ever heard, said Robert. After the dogs let out the horrendous sounds described as pain and suffering, the barking went quiet, and that's when it happened. We couldn't hear the dogs anymore, but the creatures were still out there, said Ellen. They began throwing something else at our tent. Pieces of our dogs. The dogs, according to Robert and Ellen, had been ripped to shreds. We didn't know what to do. Once we saw what this creature did to the dogs, we took off running from the campsite. We left our tent, our gear, and what was left of our dogs, said Robert. I am positive our camping gear and everything is still right where we left it, he said. We are never going back to that place. Ellen wept quietly as Robert recounted their horrific tale. We had those dogs for years, she said. They were our family. Robert and Ellen agreed they had to come forward with their story after they read the recent story about Bigfoot being spotted near Campbell Cemetery. We realize people might think we are crazy, but I don't care. We know what happened, and we left evidence of what happened that night, Robert said. Bigfoot, or some kind of creature, lives out there in the Ozark National Forest, the couple agreed. We are now believers. So apparently it has been sighted in this area before, and I have heard stories about it being sighted in the Ozarks. So I don't know, but that's a pretty convincing story. And what possible motive would they have for making that up? And it would be pretty easy for somebody to check up on, because they could go back to the area and find their tent and their camping gear and what's left of their dogs. So I don't know, but I personally do believe that there is something out there. I have seen videos with horrendous sounds coming from the woods, and there are just too many stories to ignore. Plus, Native Indians all have stories of Sasquatch, so I'm just thinking that we don't understand everything about our world, and there are certainly creatures. There are still new creatures being discovered, and you would think that having been on Earth this long, that we would have discovered everything there is to discover, but no. So I don't know, but let me know what you guys think. Again, I apologize for it being graphic, but I did want to bring this because it's unusual, but I do believe this couple, and obviously today in Fort Smith believed them as well, because they carried their story. So there you go. And I'm going to leave it there for tonight. I am going to do two videos, hopefully do two videos tomorrow as well, to try to catch up on being behind, because I meant to do 3 videos tonight actually, and had I not done the first video and it not recorded, I would have brought 3 videos. So we'll try to get us caught up tomorrow with all the happenings, and I will leave it there for now. You guys, hope you have a wonderful night, and beware of Bigfoot, and stay safe. Stay well, stay blessed, keep seeking truth. And you know what? Why not come back here and seek it with me? I like your company, and, well, I just think that we can all have fun together. So thank you guys. Make sure you comment down below. Let us know what you think. And if you have anything to add, I always do check the comments. So, and that is it for tonight. So you guys have a wonderful evening. Don't dream about Bigfoot. Okay. Good night, guys.